Think Progress released an end-of-the-year article highlighting Travesties of Justice in 2014, and they make the point that these things are legitimately unbelievable, except they happened in 2014. So if they didn't happen and you just describe this, people would be like, seriously? Really? That happened? And it happened in 2014 nonetheless? That doesn't make any sense. So I want to go through the list for you so you can see that we still have so much work to do to create a better society. Oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this just like anybody else, I think liberals get complacent, and we get lethargic, and we get sometimes apathetic, because we look at the polling data and we're like, well, people are with us anyway, so I guess that we're going to get the positive change no matter what, because people are with us. And it's on a variety of issues. 90% wanting a universal background check for gun purchases, 80% wanting a raise in the minimum wage, only 17% wanting to stay in Afghanistan, and the list goes on and on. The American people, by and large, are progressive. So when people are with us, we tend to go, well, the work's done. They're already with us. No, because the way the system functions, unfortunately, in many respects, is the opposite of how we would like it to function. So that's the goal. The goal needs to be to change the system itself, not just change the minds of people who otherwise have no institutional power. So let's break this down a little bit. First of all, in 2014, an NYPD officer killed a man on video, and he won't face charges. That's, of course, the Eric Garner situation. We covered that. The video speaks for itself. 2014, that happened in 2014. That happened in 2014. I mean, that sounds like a situation comparable to Emmett Till, right? Like, okay, yeah, we killed him. It was on video. We see there was clearly a crime committed, even if you say it's just excessive force or assault or what have you, right? No charges. Number two judges ordered millions of Americans to lose their health insurance. Federal case surrounding Obamacare. It was a bullshit case, but nonetheless, the judges were partisan, and they were like, yeah, fuck it. We're ordering millions of people to lose their health care. Now, it's probably not going to hold up, or I shouldn't say that. I hope it doesn't hold up. It might hold up, actually, but it's a scary thing either way. Number 3, an Oklahoma death row inmate gasped for 43 minutes as state executioners stood by. That one's particularly egregious because the rest of the modern world is way ahead of us on the issue of the death penalty. And our Eighth Amendment is supposed to protect people from cruel and unusual punishment. By definition, it's cruel to torture somebody, put them through excruciating pain for 43 minutes before they die. And it's also, by definition, unusual because it's a minority of countries in the world that still use the death penalty, and the U.S. is one of them. In fact, in terms of leading nations, or in terms of first world nations, it's leading the way with executions. Number 4, inmates were baked to death, gassed to death, and scalded to death in American jails and prisons. One example of this is there was a guy who, as punishment, he was forced into the shower and they turned up the temperature of the water to 160 degrees. He died. There was another example of a guy who was passed out on the ground in his jail cell, was left alone for days, and the sun literally baked him. 2014, I'm going to keep coming back to it. I know it gets annoying to keep bringing it up, but there's a reason why I keep bringing it up that's very illustrative of a gigantic problem we have in our society, or I should say problems. Number 5, 2 mentally disabled North Carolina men spent 30 years in prison before DNA evidence exonerated them. Number 6, a rich heir who raped his 3-year-old daughter was spared jail time because he, quote, will not fare well. Remember this? We had the whole affluenza thing come up this year. Georgia executed a man whose lawyer had a serious drinking problem. So this guy, the details of this story are crazy, because the guy was obviously unfit to do his job. and you have a constitutionally mandated series of appeals in the death penalty case. But this guy, he didn't do his job, and they're like, yeah, okay, anyway, that'll stand. Put the person to death. Insane. Number 8, a mother is still facing jail time for giving her son medical marijuana. The only thing that stops seizures for this kid, the mother's put in jail for treating her son with medicine that works. I remember I flipped out about this when we covered the original story on Secular Talk. And finally, Mississippi defendants have been jailed for a year without ever being charged. Clear violation of U.S. law and the Constitution. Right to a speedy trial. 2014, man, 2014. Now, a lot of people can say, well, these are isolated incidents and, you know, this doesn't say anything about the system in its totality. My response to that is, if you really believe that, wouldn't you like to just be safe and implement systemic reform, effective new policies to prevent the next insane list like this from coming out next year? I think the answer to that is yes.